Welcome back to Total Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Paul. Our guest this week is a legend in the dancing world. 5-year dancer with an NBA team. Excellent, skilled performer. Our guest this week is Brittany Nicole. I hope you're inspired by Brittany. I think she's an incredible teacher as well as dancer. So if you want to reach your goals as a dancer and become a professional dancer, you should listen to this episode and stay tuned. Our sponsor of the week is Mid-Atlantic Video and Photography Productions. No matter if you need photos or video, they are the team to get the job done. No matter if you need photos for a wedding, a special event, pageant photography, Mid-Atlantic Video and Photography Productions can get your photos done. And if you need a video project for a wedding videography, a music video, or a small commercial, Mid-Atlantic Video and Photography Productions can get your photos and your videos done. So make sure you reach out to Mid-Atlantic Video and Photography Productions for your next photo and video project. And welcome to the show.
And thanks for having me, Paul.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have an excellent, skilled dancer on the show. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the community's just generally scared to come on a talk show and talk about being like an excellent, skilled dancer. But I'm really thankful for you to come out of your comfort zone and come on the show, because there's so many people that want to be a dancer, and I think it's such an elegant, cool way of like expressing yourself, and I think that people can learn so much by just having a conversation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I ended up, falling in love with dance when I was a little girl. My dad was watching Michael Jackson's video. I forget. I think it's called "Remember the Time," and it's like an Egyptian type.
Yeah,
dance
you're talking
video.
about the music video.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Have
And
you ever
I
seen?
honestly, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Have you ever seen the Motown 40th reunion special where he did the moonwalk for the first time too?
Oh, I don't think
Oh,
so.
you have to see that. Oh my, it's the first time he did the moonwalk.
Oh man.
Yeah. Like if you're inspired by that, I think
maybe I've even seen it, and it's like maybe I just don't remember seeing it.
It's like the last time all the 5 big Motown acts came together, because the Jackson 5 were there. The Tops? The 4 harmonies, and then the 4 ladies with it's all the great Motown acts, but at the end of it, the only reason he was going to be there is that he made a deal with the owner that he would get to have his own, sing his own song. So he debuted on the moonwalk. So,
wow.
yeah. So you remember watching this music video with your father?
Yeah, I was walking downstairs, and he was like, "Hey, Brittany, look. And I was like, "Oh man!" And I automatically just wanted to learn like his moves. So from then on, I just fell in love with dance. I just remember, you know, you got songs like, "Rock the Boat" coming out, and you had songs like "Bootylicious" and all those other great songs that we used to have back in the day. When songs were, had a bit more meaning to it.
So
But
are you
yeah.
the generation of
TLC,
TLC, or are you the
Yep.
generation of the other 3 girls where Beyonce came from?
Destiny's Child.
Are you Destiny Child's girl? Are you both?
I'm
Okay.
both. I'm Spice Girls. I'm Hanson's. I'm like all the way back, like Britney, like studying everyone's moves, like Justin, all that. So like, it was just ever since I saw that video, it was like we ended up having that whole music station where they have all the dance videos and the music videos. I used to study that station and literally
it's called MTV.
yeah, there it is. So the funny thing is,
Are you saying,
I don't
wait,
really,
is that,
I don't really watch TV. I
but
don't
wait,
really,
wait,
I know.
are you
Go ahead.
saying
Go
that
ahead.
ironically, or are you saying that you forgot it? Because most people would be saying that ironically today, because they're like, MTV is for like teen mom now. So
Yeah, exactly. Because we used to watch it. Like, first of all, I rarely watch TV. I listen to music like for my pastime. But when I watch TV, that's not usually like the station I go to. Like, I haven't been to that station since I was like in like, high school and stuff like that. But yeah, for sure. Like I used to watch and study all of those videos. So then from then on, I ended up getting into singing. I ended up getting into chorus. And then I honestly stopped thinking about dancing. I was like, okay, I actually like singing more than dancing. And then I ended up going to my sister's basketball game. I have an older sister. And she ended up having a timeout, and they had this dance team come out and perform this Halloween routine, and it was just executed so like it was like a cheerleader, but they weren't. They were like dancing like Michael, but they weren't Michael. It was like, what is this? Like, what is this thing?
so was it more
And
like Step Up, that kind of
yeah,
stuff?
yeah, exactly. Well, it was honestly just a high school dance team, but in my mind, I didn't know anything about this. I'm just a middle schooler, just here for supporting her sister's high school game. You know what I mean? So it was just like, what is this? So after that, as soon as I got to high school, I ended up trying out for dancing, and I honestly had danced from then all the way up until you know the NBA.
So literally, if your dad doesn't show you this video when you were what, 10, maybe your path is different. Is that really
Yeah.
the ha moment? Wow. Okay. That's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, it was like a trigger, like because I started studying dance videos from that point, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it. You know what I mean? I didn't know what it was that I was doing. I just honestly wanted to just learn the dances, but I didn't know that I was learning dances, if that makes sense. So like when it came to actually seeing it dance like on that high school floor, it was like full circle like, "Oh my god, this is it. This is what I've been doing this whole time. This is a real thing. Like people do this in real life." Like as a profession. So it was like if he I just know that day stuck with me. I know that was the day I fell in love with dance for sure. And it carried me
I
through.
mean, I'm 38, so
Mhm.
in the late 90s, I adore TRL, and kids today probably don't even know what it is. If they do, they got that generic version for a couple years. Recently, they rebooted it, but like TRL was a countdown show, and then majority of the late 90s, it was all boys groups or girls groups, and they all danced hip hop style or
Yep. Yep.
some kind of like Rick wrist lock to jam to the left to the right. So and like all the people that you're talking about are basically choreated by like 4 or 5 people. So you were probably really persuaded by like one or two really incredible dance teachers. So that's just it's
Yep.
crazy that like that that whole generation is. I mean, you can really draw it back to that dance style. Do you still enjoy that dance style, or do you find you've evolved your taste in dance?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I actually evolved my taste in dance like as soon as I started dancing, I wanted to evolve my taste in dance. So it was like I went in being open minded to like the different genres and the different like flavors I could, dive into. Like so I of course like when it came to Michael Jackson, and I of course I learned how to moonwalk, and of course I learned how to do all those, you know, dances that we used to have back in the day, but excuse me. Yeah, it was just, growing up that way, and getting to high school and seeing like pom and seeing jazz and seeing hip hop, but seeing an elite hip hop. Elite hip hop is different than hip hop. Hip hop is like grounded, and street hip hop is, it's more of your own flavor to it, whereas like elite hip hop is, you have to clean it, like it's from head to toe. You have to clean like pinkies all the way down to like which way your head is tilted. You know what I mean? So it's great. Like dance is such a huge university of flavors that I wanted to explore, and I love every part of it. Every country dances to me, I love those, and jazz dances, like every type of genre is something I definitely want to explore.
So do you incorporate like In Sync, New Kids on the Block, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears? Are they doing advanced? Or are they doing just hip hop?
So, are you saying like what was I listening to back
Well,
then?
no, they're the way they danced, because especially
Uh,
I know for a fact I I thought the style that um NSYNC did was more like a Pac and Lock. They did very
yeah, exactly.
right. I mean, I'm
I
am I
so
getting the terms right?
I'm like so growing up, I was like a tomboy growing up. So I wanted to be the Chris Brown. I wanted to be the Michael Jackson. Like, cause when I fell in love with Michael Jackson. So I wanted to do what Michael Jackson did. So it was like, Justin Timberlake. It was like, Chris Brown. It was Bow Wow. It was like J Lo used to have her songs too, and just any type of thing where it was like a rugged, you got served type of vibe to it. I was studying it. You remember Sierra?
Oh
You know
yeah,
Sierra.
yeah, absolutely, yep. Hmm.
Sierra has like a rugged, womanly vibe to her. That was the type of vibe I had growing up and studying like artists like that.
Is there a loss of like an art because there's not an emphasis on that music video anymore, and if there is, it's kind of buried in like a social media
Yeah.
like barrage of stuff, like because
Yes.
like I was pointing out, like I would go home and every Monday through Friday we would do a countdown, so you would know who the best music video was. So,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
so is it like, can you point out to someone who's like killing it right now that if someone should is listening and they want to be an incredible dancer or just be inspired, is there a music video that they definitely need to just like glob onto that's really trendy, that's really
Ooh.
good? See that I know it might be a hard question. It might be a
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Honestly, not all jokes aside, the body video, Meg the Stallion just dropped that
okay.
video. Yeah, it just, I know it looks like it's like if you're looking at it like instead of, and if you're looking at it as it is, you don't see how hard those moves that she's doing is. Like it takes a lot of like athleticism what she did in that video. And if you want to see a performance and B athleticism come together and come to life, yeah, you should watch that video. That's a good one.
Okay. I mean, coming from an expert, I mean, I would think that that's a so the body video is the one that you'd recommend. Awesome. I-
Yeah, for sure.
If if you were just starting out your career in this environment, because it's totally different than how we grew up, um, is what do you think is like the best course of action? Like, should they just try and make their school team, or should they try and do a competitive team, like one of the ones that does like cheerleading competitions? Like what?
Like the pathway, like
Mm-hmm.
what's a good, yeah, I mean, well, honestly, with COVID now, I honestly don't know what the new pathway is going to be, but what I ended up doing and what I would support um is just training the entire time. I juggled a lot. I actually juggled from high school all the way until, honestly, I still juggle to this day. I believe in juggling and diving into multiple, faucets of life, and, obtaining aspects of those, different things and implementing those into another aspect. So, like, for instance, the things that I learned, like when I'm dancing for the NBA, for instance, if I'm dancing in front of, a lot of people, it's easier for me to talk in a business meeting. I'm like, okay, I just danced in front of like all these people. Like I can clearly talk in this meeting right now. It's like I believe in having, multiple faucets and, having just diving into different things. So I ended up starting in high school. After high school, I ended up going into a college at ODU. We ended up competing at NDA. We went to Tennessee's dance camp, which was awesome. So I definitely say, go ahead and do dancing in college because sometimes, you're able to compete. And then after college, honestly, I thought I was hanging out my palms after college. I was devastated. I was sad, but my coach from high school used to, dance for the NBA as well. So she was like, "Oh, you should try out for, the NBA." And I was like, "Oh my god, get out of here! No, I'm not gonna try out for the NBA." And you should do it. Just go for
Now,
it. I was like,
now, what
"Okay, let's
what
do
what
it."
was what what's the like the difference? Because um, is a great dancer suitable for dancing any type of professional like ballet, um, field like football type of cheering or NBA cheering, or is it each person has a skill and they should apply themselves and go a certain route?
Yeah, yeah, definitely the latter. It's
Okay.
it's like the NBA is a different level of dance. You got high school is a different level of dance. College is a different level of dance. Honestly, going to NDA, UDA, all those elite competitions, those are different levels of dance. So it calls for a different level of you. So it's a lot different. And, college is kind of like, I mean, no matter what, okay, you're pretty much dancing. NBA, you got teams that you have to try out to dance on the court. You know what I mean? Try out to dance in a game. So it's a bit more, the competition is a bit more stiff in the NBA world.
Is it worth um dancing or practicing and doing some of these semi-pro teams or the G League where they have where there is a team where they can dance? Is it worth that, or is it actually worth more time paying a coach or working with someone um in the like on the low key and really working on your skills? Like
Oh, that's a
what
good question. So honestly, I've done both. Honestly, if you're hungry, you got to eat wherever you can eat. So if you can do both, why not do both, right? So when I ended up, I was leaving college, I tried out for a semi-pro team down in Norfolk and I ended up making it, but then I didn't end up, doing it because I ended up moving back up here. But I ended up doing that and getting an experience of what it was like to wear crop tops and try out in crop tops. I got experience with networking when it came to auditions. I got experience with how to stand correctly in line when wearing a crop top. Like, I feel like it's more so about the experience, and the more experiences you know, obtain, the faster you build as a dancer.
Well, that's a good question. So the outfit is a like a evolution. High school, you're primarily covered up. College, you're a little bit more revealing. But then in professional, they may, in my opinion, they kind of make you guys take your clothes off. You do have like, you have like a bikini. I think
Mhm.
NBA is a little bit more sensible. The Redskins is an example where they really need to low key it a little bit, in my opinion. Um, how do you like how do you work through that? Is that um, do you
Yeah, I
do you
mean,
do you, do you, do you practice like how would you approach that? Like, would you tell someone to like wear a bikini in public if they're transitioning from college to high? Like how do you get over that? Because if you're going to try out, you have that's the uniform. You have to go with the flow. You have to do what they tell you. So.
yeah, and I guess I don't really look at it that way. When it comes to working out, I personally work out in leggings and a sports bra. Like when it comes to running, I run in sports bra and shorts. You know what I mean? So those are things that I work out in with as an athlete. Like take volleyball for instance. Volleyball, I have to wear spandex shorts. I wasn't comfortable wearing spandex shorts, but in volleyball, it's better. It's easier to wear those because I'm able to move. I'm able to, bend and get lower, and those are the things that dance calls for as well. So it's actually easier to move in those outfits. What I mean, when it comes to the athleticism that those dances call us to do.
Well, I agree. If you're doing some kind of up and down where you're gonna do a split or do some kind of high intense move, it probably would be easier to not to have so much uh, clothes around the legs or have so much restriction too. So, um, if you're in high school right now, is there is it really possible to get a scholarship to dance and do performances, or is it still a struggle in this environment, and if you want to dance you have to do it on your own dime and audition, and it's still not as taken care of as like the football team or the basketball team?
Yeah, so I know for me, when it came to auditions and stuff like that, it didn't cost anything for me when it came to like auditions in college or high school. If it did come to high school, we fundraised to get the money, so it was more so that. But of course when it comes to the NBA, we actually got paid pretty well, coming. Our coach definitely had fought for great things for us as well, and where we are today is definitely further than where we were before, but I definitely believe it's definitely on its way to become better as well. But I know when it comes to dance, for me personally, it wasn't about the money. I personally juggle both. Again, going back to the juggling, I juggle both IT and, dancing. So I didn't really lean on dancing in high school because I was working at Chili's. I didn't lean on dancing in college because I was working at Chili's. I didn't lean on dancing in the NBA because I'm working in IT. So each time I've never really needed, it was a blessing to just get that extra, the extra money coming in versus, relying on it, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I no, I totally. I guess are there scholarship opportunities? This is, I guess, my
Yeah,
is
and
my
for
draw. Yeah,
scholarships, yeah.
that I guess that was the I apologize for not reframing my question specifically. But are there really still are there at this point are there now scholarships that if you want to actually dance and be a
Mhm.
cheerleader on or go, and be part of a team performance, is that finally the norm where you can go to a college and they'll give you a scholarship, either partial or full?
Yeah, so I think they still there's a difference in dancing for college. You have dance teams and then you have like dance programs. So I believe dance programs still do have scholarships that you can apply for. Um when it comes to dance teams, the tradition is to audition. So I mean that's traditionally what you're supposed to do. I actually personally loved what my NBA team ended up doing because I had to audition every single year, and I love that. I'm the type of person that's like, okay, if you want something, show me you want this every year. You know what I mean? It's an ode to you and an ode to your entire corporation that you want this as much as the years that you had under your belt here.
Oh, I think it's really important to validate, make sure that everyone is still on the same page, because
Yeah,
we
for
don't
sure.
you don't want to have a bunch of employees that are just clicking in the clock and are taking, because there are some benefits. I mean, you get people that will adore you, and I'm sure that's a drug. Like, everyone loves to have some attention. So there's clearly some benefit with the job as well. But if you also are striving to be a dancer,
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
that that's got to be a thrill too, to be at the highest level. Um,
Yeah, for sure. There was many a times like, even being at that dancer level, there's times where you're gonna dance in front of, celebrities. There's times where you're gonna be able to bring your parents onto the court. There's times where you're gonna be able to bring your family members to their first NBA game. Like, you know, being in those experiences, like it's more than just the monetary value of it. It's like memories that you cannot pay for. You have to work hard to obtain them. So it's bigger. This industry is like a sisterhood. It's a family. It's a brotherhood. It's everything. You know, it's huge.
Well, I agree. Like, I mean, it's incredible because especially with the amount of work that you put in on the professional level, and that doesn't even count all the work that goes into it when you're in high school, college, and then going up, working your way up through the minor leagues, through semi-pro to the opportunity of making an actual professional team. Um, if if you had never made the the a NBA team, would that have been a disappointment? Would you have still pursued dancing for a G League team or a semi-pro team that was um, uh, more hip hop centric, or would have that not been completely satisfying?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, funny thing, I ended up trying out for the NFL first, and then I ended up getting cut at finals. When I left college, my coach ended up telling me to try out for the NBA, but when she told me the NFL tryouts were coming up first, so I was like, okay, well, let's just do this one because this one's coming up first. So let's just do this. So I had already planned in my mind that I was going to be dancing for the NFL. But like, you don't understand. Like, I invited everybody across the world, like, because my work ethic, I believe in it so much. Like, if I want something, it's like I will do any and everything to obtain that. You know what I mean? Work day and night, hour after a minute. Like, it's just the work and hunger for things when I see them and want them, it's real. You know what I mean? It's if I'm going after something, I'm gonna be passionate about it. You know what I mean? So it's just yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
Well, I have that passion with my photography business. I also have a family travel agency with my mom. So, um, the best part is having that incredible photo or making sure that family goes on that incredible vacation. So, I told, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the slam dunk, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like, even though I didn't make the NFL and everyone came out and they were ready to support me. It's so funny because I got off the stage and my family was they were ready to catch me because it was like, so I have, I put a lot of pressure on myself, you know what I mean? So my family knows whenever I put pressure on myself to catch me when I fall, you know? So of course when I got cut, they were right there at the bottom of the stage ready to catch me. And I came out smiling and they were like, "What is going on with you?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, no, I'm good." Because in my mind, so I did everything perfectly in that dance and I still got cut. So in my mind I was like, "Okay, it's just not meant to be." And I took it as it was. And I actually just said, okay, I'm just not going to dance. So that's when my coach was like, oh, but remember the NBA is coming up too. So just do the NBA one. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll try this one out too. So, yeah, to answer your question, had I have gotten cut from the NBA, I would have taken it the same way I took it the NFL, just everything happens for a reason. Let's see what's next. And I wouldn't have, I work in this area in IT. So I would have stayed in this area like for that time being.
I just wanted to take 1 second from this great interview and talk about our sponsor of the week, Mid Atlantic Video and Photography Productions. No matter if you're planning a wedding, a special event, or you just need an amazing headshot, they are the team to get the job done. You can reach out to them at 443 422 3830. Again, that's 443 422 3830. Or you can go right to their website at mavpp.com. Now let's get right back to the show and listen to this great interview. Well, and also, I mean, to completely, I mean, it's not no forever, it's just no this year. So I
Yeah,
would assume that you would have that positive um, mindset that you were like, okay, well, it's just no for this year. So, I mean, I'll just figure out exactly what skills that need to be polished and we'll get there.
of
Is
course.
that the hardest part for a dancer, um, to understand what the team that you want to audition for, if it's even if it's high school or
Yeah,
college? Like,
that's a
is
tough
there
one.
is there a way that if someone's listening here to like really like read the coach's mind, because maybe maybe they don't want to tell you for whatever reason, or maybe they want to challenge you for what reason, I don't know why. I'm definitely a yes. I'm very black and white kind of person. That's yes or no. Um, um, so I know it's not, it's audition. So audition automatically means that there's a gray area. So how do you explain that? Like, how do you mentally, or like, how do you help someone out there that's listening that is struggling with that?
Yeah, so um, can you actually repeat your question one more time? I apologize.
Oh, no, no. So if the biggest issue with auditioning is
Mm.
really understanding what you did wrong, but sometimes you don't get feedback. It's the same thing in the pageant world.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes,
like
yes.
what did you do wrong that you didn't put me on the team or win the crown?
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
not something that's necessarily like it's very arbitrarily, because the judges might change or the coach might
See,
change.
that's a great point. And to backtrack too, I don't want to make it sound like because I got cut, I wouldn't have looked back and tried out again. Because essentially that's not what happened, right? I ended up making the NBA, so that's how the story went. But so I don't know if I would retry out, but in my mind, if I know I worked really, really hard and I know that my execution was good, and I know you can kind of analyze your tryout situation, if you will, and kind of see where you fall when it comes to making the team or not. I know that sounds crazy, but in the dance world, you study what your tryout, with the people you're auditioning against, so you kind of get an idea of like how much competition you have. Kind of gauge it. But yeah, so it was.
How do you fight, um, or work in the guidelines of the audition process? Like, is it your way of like friending all the girls or human beings, because we now have guys trying out, which is so cool? Um, um, like, is it your mindset that like let's make everyone a friend and try and help everyone, or are you super
Yeah.
competitive and let's just cut everyone off by the knees and like
Oh
no.
no. No, so again, you got to remember growing up, let's go back to the story. I grew up like a tomboy. So honestly, like dancing like a guy was something that I did. You know what I mean? I was like Michael Jackson, like Chris Brown. I was I was that person. So,
Wait.
you know,
Can I ask you a
go
question?
ahead.
Because I just want to ask
Go
you a
ahead.
fundamental question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, do you feel that because he was a man, he was dancing like a man? Because I mean, he moved like a ballerina sometimes, and
Who is
like
this? Michael Jackson?
yes, and like the way his foot moved. So I thought he was like very industrious. Me, he can go back. He could do things that men could do. He could do things women can do. So
Mhm.
there are some people that are really skilled. So when you say I dance like a man, I was like,
Yeah, see,
I
oh,
don't know
that's
if
a
I
good
agree with it,
point.
because I think he did things that women could do, and I think he could.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point. That's actually beautiful. I guess when I say dance like a man, I'm more so when I used to dance in high school, I used to come in with these really baggy pants on.
Oh, you
Uh
mean like the hip, like
yeah,
yeah,
like a
like
hip hop grounded look versus like the normal typical like sports bra, leggings or shorts. Like it was
gotcha.
like I wanted you to focus on my dancing versus like me as a a person, if that makes sense. I wanted you to see my story versus like just me. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. Because sometimes, no, because sometimes we put up we put up distractions to like
hmm
squirrel, squirrel, over there as a distraction, um, you know, because we're too scared for them to judge us one on one. Like, as a photographer, men and women do it, but majority of women do it. Women don't usually like to have their photo one on one because especially on a dating website, that's putting a lot of pressure. So you always put the photo, you take the camera and you put it 12 feet above you. So then, you look skinnier, your boobs are out, you have the thin neckline. So
hmm
that, it takes a lot of guts to put the camera right in front of you and get that one for one perspective. So, I mean, is that the best way to describe audition? Is that you're putting all the chips on the table and they're literally seeing exactly who you are?
Yeah, I mean, to go back to your question where you were saying, should you train on your own or should you pay somebody or what should you do? Like, it all comes down if you're hungry or not. Like, I paid for a coach on the side when I ended up getting injured and I ruptured my Achilles. It was one thing to come back. I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back to the NBA. uh Literally, because it takes a year for you to recover. So I was like, I'm gonna come back next year. I'm going to come back next year. Like, this is not an option. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back, but not only that, I'm gonna come back with two tricks too. So I ended up hiring a coach that I randomly met, and she taught me how to do two tricks, and I learned the two tricks in 2 weeks. Came back and did that. I ended up working out like 4 times a week by myself, and I was going to PT. Like, it's all about how hungry you are. You know what I mean? It's everything you can put. Oh my gosh! And even when it came to Instagram, like before I made the NBA, I was doing research. Like, I was reaching out to people that were on the team, and this is a good gem for anyone that's listening too. I was reaching out to girls that were on the team, and I was like, what do I need to know? What do I need to research? Like, do I need to look up history? Like, is this dance team more than a dance team? Like, do I need to look up like the sisterhood? Like, because of when I joined, it was a sisterhood, so I didn't know how deep it went. But it was like I was going into this ready to just take it in, and it was it's a beautiful ride. It's a beautiful ride.
So I got two questions out of that. One, if you never get injured, do you have the same longevity? Like, do you have is your
Yeah.
career as long because
Yeah.
you came back? Sometimes you're like upset that you got hurt, so then you work out even more, and now you have more in the tank.
Yep.
Because sometimes it happens with an athlete. And two, um, going back to the historic history portion, does that make a good impression towards the coach, he or she, that or is that also may make you look like a Poindexter or like a know-it-all that that kind of stuff, or like is it like how important is that history? Like, history is very important, but also like, should you coincide, like should you hang out with veterans or hang out with retired um, dancers to get their perspective, or is that something that should naturally come as the years go on? So the first question is it because of that injury that you had such a long career?
Okay, so to answer your first question, um, I think I probably would have given the same amount of years. Technically, I look at it as 6 years because the year I took off, I was working literally the same, probably 2 times more times a week than I was when I was in the NBA. Just working out to get back onto the NBA. So I still count that
It's a shame
year.
they don't have a injured reserve. you
I
know.
know it sucks. It really does suck. It really does. I mean, but to be the first, to get injured and to come back and see to answer that, that coach question and that corporate question to see how they handled it, you know, what they ended up doing, I ended up, calling my coach and I was like, hey, so, we have this thing where, vets come back and vets don't come into play. We don't come into play until like, after round, I think it's like round 2. So, I called my coach after being off for a year and I'm like, hey, what round will I be starting at, now that I'm coming back? And he's like, yeah, Britt, I'm sorry. You got to start at the top. You got to start at the top. I was like, okay, cool. Let's get it. Like, let's go. Like, let's get it because let's go. I'm so happy you said that because I should work my butt off and prove that I'm ready to get back onto this court. That moment, him saying that to me and me taking that and capitalizing on it. Heck yeah. Did that injury
I hope
like
that
fuel me? I agree. It fueled me for sure.
well, I hope that also like shocked him because I would say some people would have been like taking it as like a swipe, and I assume that conversation went totally different. That you were like, okay, fine, I'll be on, I'll just take the long way, like
Let's get
fine,
it.
we'll win the wild card game, then we'll win the division, and then we'll go on and win the World
See,
Series.
and that brings me right back to the whole faucets thing. I played volleyball, so I'm like legit like my athleticism when it comes to like my athletic mindset. I'm like, oh, you want me to go the harder way? Okay, let's get it. Let's go. Like, let's go. Like, I've always been the volleyball type of person that was like, all right, right side hitter, like just a harder, I just know how to be hard and soft. You know what I mean? When it calls me to be. So to be able to carry that asset and utilize that in dance is great. It's awesome.
But it just also proves your professionalism too, because you didn't assume that your place was automatically set. You felt that you had to defend it.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it was almost like him telling me that it was like I almost said that too. It was like if he left it up to me, there's no doubt in my mind that I would have been like, honestly, just start me at the top, like because I wanted to see if I could do it because this tryout process wasn't just a tryout process. This was okay, Brittany, are you really ready to get back into the NBA? Like for real, like you're 100% recovered to walk, but are you 100% to, you know what I mean, to dance athletically? Like so
And
it was something for me too.
and for our listeners, like there is a difference between being clear to walk or run and being able to dance for an NBA team. There's a complete difference. So
Yes.
like that's like being able to run like Usain Bolt level, like kind of
Mhm.
like I commend you that you were even at that level at one point because it just shows how talented you were. So
Yeah. Thank you.
I just wanted to take one extra second and talk about our sponsor of the week, Mid Atlantic Video and Photography Production. No matter if you're planning a wedding and you need a wedding videographer, you're doing a music video, or you're doing a commercial, they are the team to get the job done. You can reach out to them at 443 422 3830. Again, that's 443 422 3830. Or you can go right to their website at mavpp.com. Now let's get right back to this great interview. Like to highlight my guest and give them an opportunity to talk about anything. So is there anything that we haven't had the opportunity to highlight that our listeners would really learn great from you that could help them achieve their own career in dance in some way that we haven't mentioned? So we've talked about how you were inspired and how you got into it and how you progressed into doing NBA dance. Is there something else that's really important or someone else that has really inspired you?
Yeah, well, for the listeners, definitely for the ones that are on the journey to just try out for pro, just stay hungry. You know what I mean? I don't know what COVID, has planned for dance, but stay hungry, stay training, and you know what I mean, reach out to people like that are retired, to vets, you know what I mean? Reach out to vets now and research, invest in yourself, invest in dance, you know what I mean? Invest in what makes you happy, whether that's dance, whether that's cooking, whether that's working out, whatever it is, invest in it. And not only that, I'm just now retired from the MBA and, just kind of focusing on IT right now. I'm a tech art delivery specialist for Accenture. And, I'm studying for my certification also while also trying to figure out how I can use, my many faucets and, gems that I've learned across all of them and, give them back to, my community, DMV community, and see how, we can all capitalize on that knowledge and, just come together and see where we can all go with that. So definitely for dancers, that are listening, see how you can, work with other people in the community. Working with people in the community helps you get in that door. When if you go to dance classes, specifically in the DMV area, and you're trying out for a team in the DMV area, you're more than likely going to cross the same people. So, start working, outside of that audition process. And yeah, you can obtain it all.
Do you think that the dance world could be dramatically different, or do you think that after um, we have enough virus, enough vaccines out, do you think dancing's going to go back to the same, or do you think that there's been enough, like, do you think has been any like social change that we've gone through? Do you think that dancing for women might change, or
I feel like well, in terms of COVID, for that first question, I feel like America, or we as a nation more so, I feel like dance halted for a little bit. Okay. Like it maybe slowed down, but we as artists know that nothing can stop art. Nothing can stop art. You can slow it down, but nothing can stop it. So yes, right now most dancers are virtual or in smaller classes, but I actually think if vaccines are, pushed out quicker too, I think this will help the dance industry in turn because now we're virtual as well as in person. You know what I mean? This is now someone that has been dying to dance with an LA artist and the East Coast can now have that ability to do that. So I think that this will actually in turn be a positive, move for dance.
well, I definitely see that the art community has gotten a lot bigger but smaller because you're able to more people that were maybe not accessible because they were so busy had transitioned to having online classes. So it sounds like you're able to connect with more people that way this year. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, I definitely was able to connect a lot more with people this year. I mean, virtually this year too, I've been able to connect, surprisingly, I've been able to connect with people virtually. I ended up, um, like I said, I just retired and I've been trying to figure out what niche I want to go into first when it comes to like my platform and what I want to, start, going into other platforms and teaching other people and, so the first thing that I ended up doing is a beauty series, and I ended up, talking to a dance team about, makeup and just pro makeup and how to, the do's and don'ts of makeup. And even though they were virtual, it was about I want to say it was about I want to say it was probably 20 of them that was on there. Even though it was virtual, we connected beautifully. It was like I was right there one on one. I went, I gave them, the how to's of makeup for pro life, drinking water, healthy tips, and just some makeup pro tips on how to, just makeup and different types of lines and good products, all those things. And then after that, I went through and asked each of those girls, what their name was, what they loved about, dancing or makeup, and what else they wanted to learn. And, going through each of them, it was like I had that one on one, connection. So even though we're in this virtual environment, it's creating these beautiful connections still.
Well, that's awesome that you're able to really bridge a continuous connection through coaching or through doing makeup. That's an incredible. And the other thing that I notice is that you've been doing more modeling, which is
Yeah.
a total connection to being a professional dancer. All the responsibilities that you have in college and that you have in the professional, you also have um, doing modeling as well on top of it. So, um, can you just talk briefly on like was that a big wake up call, like out of nowhere now I have to be like wonderful in front of the camera, the video camera as well as the photo camera? Do you have any tips behind that? Do you, you know, you were on a team for 5 years, so like there you can't just go out and work with someone. You probably have to get permission. Is it worth the stress and the effort to go out and work with someone to get practice so you look good in front of the camera so you don't make mistakes and vice versa, like all the, you know?
Yeah, so I this is a great question as well. So I just actually talked to my best friend about this the other day because she's actually starting to look into photo shoots. So I actually started shooting back in 2014. As soon as I left college, I was auditioning for the NFL, and you had to submit photos. And I was like, oh man, I have to submit photos. Not only that, that was during the time frame where, we were submitting photos where it was like crop tops and more of those athletic type photos so you could see, if a woman was athletically toned and athletically ready for an athletic sport like that. So at the end of the day, it was like, okay, I have to figure out how to get these photos. So I ended up meeting one guy back in college, and we ended up shooting my first shoot. And surprise, the irony in it, it's so crazy. So my first shoot with him, he was playing around with backgrounds, mind you. He was doing photos for my practicing for the NFL. So he ends up sending me one of the pictures, and he put an NBA court on the background of it, right? And I was like, "Oh my god, this looks." And I was just doing like this kind of athletic pose, and he put a court behind it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this looks so great." Except it should be a field. And he was like, "I know," but I was just like, "This is so cool." So it's just ironic that it was like that was the picture, like that was gonna essentially end up being, you know what I mean, me, like that. It was just full circle moment. So anyway,
Well,
um,
it's good,
go ahead.
it's like symmetry, like also like, God was telling you something before you knew it too. So
Yeah, of course. And it's so crazy because in my mind I took it surface level. I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is my first professional picture. Yay. I didn't look at it like this is actually going to be me dancing on a court someday. So anyway, so the point of me starting in 2014 was to get pictures for the NFL to be ready to audition. But after taking those pictures, the photographer was saying I needed more work on just moving with the camera. So there's like this umbrella, and you have to the way that you line up with that umbrella is how is going to determine the lighting in that photo also. So he was saying, when it came to my eyes and my positioning, I needed a lot more work because if I wasn't a fluid model, photographers wouldn't want to work with me. So I had to figure out my fluidity. So after that day, I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. Another challenge. Okay, let's go. So ever since that day, I've been creating photo shoots ever since. But then as I'm creating photo shoots, I'm managing photo shoots. I do my own makeup, I do my own hair. I mean, I get my hair done, but I put the outfits together. I figure out the shot location. I figure out the photographer. I figure out the time. I tell them 2 hours. I tell them the pricing. Like it's everything that I take care of everything. The only thing that the photographer has to do is just show up at this point. And that was that it makes
I mean,
sense for
that's a
me.
dream client to me. So
Yeah, exactly. And it makes sense what my first photographer had told me. He said, you have to become fluid. And I'm fluid now, and because I'm fluid, I'm able to alleviate a lot of the work that other photographers have to do.
Well, I mean, that's some great advice. I guess my follow up question: while you're on the team, is it worth um, getting the permission and asking the coach to work with people to get more practice, or is it better to work with the staff photographer and just work with when you're on the court to get better photos? Because I assume that there are pressures being on the team. You have to look a certain way and you have to smile. So I'm sure they tell you have to smile a certain way, and they, you already have to have your makeup a certain way, and you
Well,
have your
see,
hair.
and I wouldn't even say so. Yeah, we have a look, yes, but there's also a sense of if you bring a look that works, that's also something too. So I don't want it to say like, okay, this is your look, like, you know what I mean? That's what you have to do. Like there's more, bandwidth of what you can and cannot have, or what you can move forward with. But if you come to the table, you know what I mean, with something fresh, something brand new, and to answer your photographer question, actually, I would personally recommend doing photo shoots outside of an organization. Like I do photo shoots by myself. Not only do I think it's a great idea, but when I do photo shoots, I learn a lot because I'm managing everything on my own. Or if I was to do it with another person, I actually shot one time with my boyfriend, and I learned so much dancing, shooting with another person. I ended up shooting another time in bathing suits. I learned a lot from there. It's just the whole experience that you get when you do it outside of an organization, because you're doing it by yourself. You're taking yourself seriously. Like that's your project. You know what I mean? So it's actually better in my mind when you do it on your own, and then see when it comes to the audition process, when you submit those photos, you can always take those photos up to the coach and be like, hey, is this what you're looking for? When you do those photo shoots, you can give 5 different looks, take each of those looks to that coach and be like, hey, which one of these were you looking for this year? And him be like, oh my god, that one right there. And then you could there it is, like you've done all the work for him. He just has to pick the option. You know what I mean?
So they don't necessarily. So at least the coach that you work with, they would rather you have more options and give them the options than to um, just give you a nair and just like you pick. So is that the norm, or you have a
Well,
great coach
see,
that
I wouldn't speak specific to coaches or specific to
sure,
one person. It's more so different
or
situations. Like
philosophy?
so maybe, and it might be a different situation, different years.
Hmm?
One year a person, like if I was a coach, for instance, like maybe one year I want to go edgy, and then the next year maybe I kind of just want to dial it back and go natural looks. Like so I don't even think it's about like, oh, okay, this is what I want, you guys do it. You know what I mean? It's more so what the vibe is for that year, what you're bringing to the table. Like cuz there's coaches that ask you what you want to go for. You know what I mean? So it's a nice transition. It's a great transition.
I I think your explanation on that was excellent. So my last question is, because you were in that group of transition, um, do you see that majority of the teams across all sports doing co-op teams, or do you think that it would be better that it would still be a woman focused sport, and also giving women opportunities where unfortunately we still don't give women equal opportunities when it comes to sports? And I want to, before you answer that, I want you to know, and I want my audience should know this, that I think that women should have the opportunity to, like, if you wanted to play football, I think you should be able to play football, and there shouldn't be any reason why. If you want to play baseball, I think you should be able to play baseball. But that said, there are people that do hold women down. So there's one sport that, to this point is still pretty much all women, which is dancing. So are you on one side or the other, or are you open to seeing how this goes?
Yeah, so I don't know if, oh, actually I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you saw my last post that we had talked about actually. But yeah, I called out my sisters, when I joined the MBA, it was a sisterhood, and I didn't pledge in college because I looked at dance as a sisterhood. I was like, okay, you know what? This is actually already taking up a lot of my time, and these are sisters, and I'm pretty sure they're not going anywhere. So this is pretty much my sisterhood. So, going into it, it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sisterhood. And, coming back, I actually came back during the transition when it was happening and finding out, we were going co ed again. Like I grew up, I also danced for Capital Movement. Capital Movement is a professional dance company in DC, and it's mixed with kids, adults, um, girls, guys,
It's a dance
everyone.
performance
It's
company.
a dance performance company,
Right.
exactly. So I dance next to guys all the time. And again, dancing next to, women, different guys, different energies, not even to put a sex to it, different energies is something that I love. So if you can give different energies around you, why not be open to it? So I applaud and love my sisterhood. Trust me, I freaking love the NBA's sisterhood, but I also am open to the family that we've obtained this year as well and last year. And allowing opportunities in any and all areas for everybody, from all walks of life.
So you don't think that losing like two or three spots to a man
Mhm.
is not doing any, it's not damaging in any way. You still can have your sisterhood, and the boys can still be, you know, there to support you guys, and to help you guys in any way that the male dancers could.
Yeah, so I don't really have say on that. I believe
Right.
it's all on the coach. I believe it's all on the coach when it comes to sex. I don't think that it's like, okay, well, this guy took this girl's spot, this girl took this guy's spot. You know what I mean? I don't
Okay.
think it comes down to sex. I think it just more so would come down to the art of it. You know what I mean? And how much passion you bring to the table and what difference and you know um versatility you bring to the table and how you present yourself. I think it's more so the art you bring versus the sex you're bringing to the table.
I mean, I think it should come down to who's the better dancer and who's the more skilled dancer. I agree with that. Um, I, I, I still, I'm kind of mixed because I wish women would have more opportunities. It's sad when opportunities seem to be taken away, but it also seems like maybe it gave you guys more opportunities because maybe it shined a light on your organization
Yeah,
too. So
of
maybe there was
course.
some positive out of it too. So like maybe it's like both ways, right?
And then of course, getting guys too, having them look up to us as well. Our guys respected us and we are family. Like it was beautiful like how we took it and we were like, okay, this is what's going on, you guys. You either run with it or you run away from it. You know what I mean? So you had to choose. And, at the end of the day, we as women, of course, yeah, this world, of course, we're trying our best to, obtain so many beautiful opportunities, and work our butts off to attain those things. I mean, this has been a historic year already, and it's
I
been
know it's been
great,
very
but
challenging. I know.
yeah, so it's been a lot and historic. So it's just of course I'll always be on the side of fighting for what women of course can what we can also have and obtain and call our own. But I definitely don't want to allow a light to not be shined on the family that we were able to have because of this change. And not only that, to not to see these people and be like, wow, like this is an opportunity that you're able to actually take a step into now. These are I'm looking at these people and they weren't able to be here last year. Like if they wanted to, I mean, I don't know, maybe they were, but if they wanted to sign up, they weren't here last year. So to see a change like that and be there for a historic moment like that, I took it that way versus like, oh, this person's coming for my spot. At the end of the day, if I'm gonna go for something, I'm fighting for my spot. I don't care what sex you are. I don't care what how tall you are, short you are. Like I'm coming for it. So that doesn't matter. But At the end of the day, yeah, I love the sisterhood of the NBA as well as the family that the NBA is transforming into.
Does it also help to disaffect some of those arguments where they say that um, you know, it's just a sex object kind of a job, and they're not really dancing. And now that they're giving opportunities to both sex, that it's really about dancing, and that um, we want to give both an opportunity to dance the best now. Is that another way to look at it too? Is that we're really starting to promote dancing and not
Mm-hmm.
and not and not the, oh, this is just all females, yeah, and we wrap them in this veil of dancing, but maybe they're a sex object, where now it's a group of human beings that are dancing their asses off and doing an incredible job.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even pin sex object to it. Again, like when it comes to those types of uniforms, again, athleticism, you have to have a
A-
uniform that will allow
And
you
you made a
to.
great argument. I agree with you. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, you made a great valid, and I think that your argument was valid, and I agreed with your argument on that. So
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so I mean, of course, having the guys in there, it's. I don't disagree. Every year, life makes a person level up, right? So
okay.
no matter what, being on that team, being on the NBA for five years, you see how much your team grows no matter what person comes in and touches it. So at the end of the day, we as the women that we were already bringing a bunch of energy. We were you know just an energetic group of confident women. It was wonderful. So then of course we got the guys in, and then of course we got more tumblers in too. That was something that took our energy up to another level as well. So it was just, adding, I guess, shining a light on the dance industry was also, it was needed. So it was like as soon as the guys were, yes, as soon as the guys came into play, I guess it was like, hey, you guys, by the way, there's a whole dance industry. But as soon as the guys did come into play, they did give us attention. They ended up, you know, uh, incorporating lights when it comes to, I mean, it was a beautiful thing. The amount of things that started, leveling up from there. You know what I
I
mean?
I
Go ahead.
mean, it's just adding like with with dessert. It's like when you're a vanilla person, you add a little bit of chocolate. It just adds something different to it. Or if you're a chocolate person, you add,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. It
sometimes
goes back to the
some
whole genre
right.
things. It's
Sometimes
like having, go
swirls are
ahead.
always really good, right? Adds just a little bit of.
Exactly.
Well, I appreciate I hope I didn't throw you off by having a really deep conversation at the end, but I just thought it was interesting to have a discussion about it, because you were basically the last guard transitioning over, so it was interesting to see what you thought from both sides. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming on the show, Brittany, and I really appreciate you taking your time, and um, would love to check in with you in the future and see how you're doing, and if there's anything going on, just to update us. So.
Of course. Thank you so much again for having me, Paul. This was awesome. I will definitely check back in with you all and definitely give you a lot of life updates. Hopefully, some great, great life updates, and we can talk for another hour.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love, and I mean, if it's not obvious, I would love to work with you. So we'll have to try and make that happen. So
Awesome, awesome. Agreed, agreed.
Brittany, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so refreshing to have a great genre like dancing, especially NBA dance, and to have such an incredible veteran come on and talk about that industry. I will be straight up. I have a lot of pageant contestants on my show, and I would love to have a more diverse podcast. And I appreciate you really just showing that you can be an incredible dancer and an elegant speaker as well. And there's nothing to fear coming on my show. And I hope that more of your colleagues will be on my show and talk about their career and help my audience become a dancer. So I appreciate that, and I wish you only the best, and congratulations on your successful career and retirement. As always, I want to thank my audience for your continuous years of listening to my show. We're almost at 100 episodes. We are so excited to reach 100 episodes. I really appreciate everyone. I am praying for everyone during COVID. Please wash your hands. Try your best to stay 6 feet apart. Please wear a mask, please. And please, if you feel it's something you feel confident doing, I would encourage you to get the vaccine shot. I hope by the time this is coming out, there are 4 different companies offering a vaccine shot. Please get a vaccine shot. And I'm praying for you always, guys. I also, just some housekeeping. As you guys know, we also have our movie review show, which is on this channel called The Movie Breakdown. And I have my co-host, Yvonne Carlos, where we just talk about movies and have a good time. And it's off the cuff and it's really fun. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And as always, please stay